Betting Weekly Live here on Thursday, the 19th of September. We're back for yet more Champions League. We've got a La Liga match to discuss and also a big NFL fixture tonight. We've got the Jets hosting the Patriots. And I'm with James Eastham for a great edition today. Absolute pleasure to have you on. James, how you doing?
Yeah, very well, Steve. Looking forward to the show and looking forward to the round of games we've got tonight. Early view from me on the Champions League. I quite like this new format. I mentioned it on the show we did earlier today, our weekly show. At the moment, it seems to be getting a lot of stick, doesn't it, in the media about the format? But so far, I've really enjoyed the games this week. So looking forward to talking about some of the matches that are going to be played tonight as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, actually. This is actually our second recording today. Me and you, we did the European preview show earlier this morning with Dan, and we were talking about the format. And I keep saying, I think you've got to give it the whole season. But I just trying to approach things from a betting perspective, really. I'm not so bothered about the format. I'm just trying to cash my tickets, really, James, and get a good handle on things. And welcoming everyone, Vessel de Vries. Great name, that one. Welcome in. Duncan, good to see you. He thinks Atlanta will draw double chance tonight. We'll talk about that match soon. King Savvy, yeah, I totally agree. Some of the results last night were shocking. Nish, welcome in. For me last night, the big shock was Celtic's Slovan Bratislava. I got that match completely wrong. I'll hold my hands up on that one. Celtic were absolutely excellent. Looking good for my future ticket to finish 9-24, though, yeah. I must say. So I'm quite pleased about that one. We have got two early games to look at straight away. And the first match we're going to talk about, actually, is Feyenoord against Bayer Leverkusen. And interestingly enough, this is the most wagered game so far of any soccer game today at Bet Rivers. Significant interest here with the German champions Bayer Leverkusen heading to the Netherlands against Feyenoord. Feyenoord have struggled this season. They've only won one domestic game. You can actually back Leverkusen in minus 165 now. So there's been money for Leverkusen today. Feyenoord out to plus 410 on the money line. That doesn't really surprise me. The more I was looking at this game, the more I was fancying Leverkusen. I quite like the goals here. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, James. But you are firmly in the house of the German champions, yeah?
Yeah, I am, Steve. I think Leverkusen are a great bet here. You go into this game, don't you? And you look at Feyenoord, they're a big name. They're heavyweight European contenders, historically speaking. As a club, they understand how to play in Europe. But if you actually drill down into it, I don't think there are many reasons at all, actually, to favour Feyenoord here. You look at how they've started the season in the Netherlands, not particularly impressive. They've won only one of their first four matches in the league over there. It's obviously not a stronger league as the Bundesliga where Leverkusen play. And Leverkusen, although they have lost a game in the league this season, which I do believe you correctly picked out, Steve, on the European show before it happened, they've also won two games. So they made a pretty good start. They were never going to match how brilliantly they did last season, but they've done all right. So I think there's a big difference in quality here, actually. I think Leverkusen are clearly the stronger of the two sides. Yes, they're away from home, but again, we saw last season from Leverkusen, they were capable of winning games away from home and winning them well. And the other thing to add in here is, as far as we know, at the moment, Leverkusen have got good team news. So, yeah, maybe they'll rotate. We don't quite know how much teams are going to rotate now that the Champions League has started. I don't think the manager, Xabi Alonso, will rotate massively. They're a strong side. I'm expecting to see them field a strong side. So the short odds on Leverkusen to win, to me, make sense. And I'm actually happy to back them here on the Asian handicap. My pick on the game would be Leverkusen -1 on the Asian handicap, which is available at plus 102. So if they were to win the game by a single goal, you get your stakes back. And if they go on and win by a couple of goals, then you've got a winning pick. It's a bet to nothing, really, for me, Steve, because I think Leverkusen will get the win here. And at the very worst, you're going to get your stakes back. So I fully understand why the market is moving in towards Leverkusen. I think they should be too strong.
Yeah, the new manager for Feyenoord this season, of course, is Brian Priske, former Sparta Prague boss. And what I do remember from watching that Sparta Prague team was they had a right good go in a lot of their matches, not defensively secure enough at times. So that's what I'm looking at the goals here. And it's really either the Asian line of over 3 at minus 139 or over 3.25 at -106. I think I'm willing to go over 3.25. I just think the only way Feyenoord can get anything here is by scoring a bunch of goals.
Yeah.
Leverkusen could certainly at least cover or push the goal line all on their own. I'm expecting Leverkusen to get the result. We've got some comments in here. Feyenoord fan Vessel says, I don't think we can get any points today. I think I would have to agree with Vessel there. Dan Roebuck says that the average goals in the UCL 3.42 per game at the moment. Yeah, Tuesday was high scoring. Yesterday, less so. So I think we've got to see how it balances out. This is a game I'm expecting goals in. I struggle to see how this is tight.
Yeah.
Leverkusen did have a lot of overs last year in the Europa League as well. So yeah, I'm going to take over 3.25 goals. You like a strong pick here for you by Leverkusen -1 on the Asian line.
Yeah, it's a strong pick. Looking through the games tonight, would it be my strongest? It might actually be my strongest on the card here, Steve, because like I say, people expecting Leverkusen to do as well as last season. It's not going to happen, but they're still really strong. The other thing to remember is, it's a big test this for Xabi Alonso to be managing in the Champions League. He'll be relishing it. Here's a guy who's got stacks of experience in this competition as a player. Great test for him. Great next step for him, if you like, as a manager. But I think they'll be ready for this. I don't think there'll be any problems for them to get the 3 points. It would have to be a really bad performance for them to slip up, I think, tonight.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the next early kickoff. This is 12:45 Eastern, Red Star Belgrade against Benfica. And I think this is a trap game for anyone who is thinking of betting on Benfica at -117 on the money line. They are the better team, for sure. No doubt about it whatsoever. They're better technically. They've got better players. This is a unique venue, though. Check out. This is the definition of tough place to go. It just is. The crowd can really get on top of you. It's quite hostile. The tunnel walking onto the pitch is, a potentially horrendous experience. It's just absolutely spine crushing sometimes. If you're not tough mentally here, the place can get on top of you. And a lot depends what sort of mood, what mindset Benfica are in. Everyone would have been telling them that it's a tough place to go. So hopefully, from their perspective, they will be prepared. But -117 on the money line, I just couldn't take them here. Equally, I'm not sure I could back Red Star Belgrade. I did see them in the final qualifying against the Norwegian side, Buda Glimt, and in the home leg, they just ripped apart, really, a Glimt side who are pretty good technically, play nice football, but mentally they didn't have it on the night. So my lean would be on Red Star Belgrade on the plus half Asian handicap goal start. I think they're not a very good side, though. Deep down, they're sort of, the fundamental ratings. I think away from home, they could get absolutely pummeled a few times. But here, at this venue in Belgrade, not an easy place to go. So that would be my personal lean. I don't know if you've got a take on Benfica or not here, James, or not.
Yeah, not really. This was one of my games to leave alone here. The main reason for that, Steve, is I've just not seen enough of either of these two sides this season so far. I know Benfica haven't made, in terms of points, certainly the best start in the Portuguese league. Looking at the team news, it looks as though they'll be able to field quite a strong side away from home here. Di Maria, Otamendi, is obviously a lot of experience in certain key positions there for Benfica. But I tend to agree with you. I think that when a team who are a good team but not an outstanding team, and I would put Benfica in that category, are really short odds away from home at a place that is going to be very difficult to go to, I instinctively want to leave the game alone, really. If I dig into it a bit more deeply, maybe something will come up. But having not done that on this game, it would be one for me to take a watching brief on and see how Red Star Belgrade do at home. It will maybe be useful insight into their upcoming home games in this competition. So the odds, I think, like you, instinctively, I would lean towards Red Star Belgrade if I had to have a pick on it. But it's one for me to leave alone and see what I can glean about these two teams for the fixtures they've got coming up.
And Dan Roebuck's giving me a yellow card for mentioning tough place to go. Either that or he likes the cards here. Duarte Silva says Benfica new manager really wants to make a good impression. The previous one had a bad relationship with the fans, but I expect a tight match. And I think Duarte is right. This could be under 2.5, plus 114, under 2.5. Both teams score no at plus 115 is another angle you could look at here. I'm just not strong on anything, though. I'm just not strong here because, Benfica, I never like betting against the the better technical and footballing team. Simple as that. But I would be very wary of taking the Portuguese side. I'm going to predict. I'm going to go for the 0-0 in this game.
Yeah, something like that. I think unders actually is probably a good shout here. But like I say, there are other games here in the program tonight, which definitely I think have got better opportunities.
We're going to move on to a La Liga game now, actually, because the kickoff time is 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't want to get lost amongst some other games that are kicking off later. We've got Leganes against Athletic Bilbao. Now, the reason I flagged this up, because this is possibly my strongest bet of the whole day. I really like Athletic Bilbao here on the money line, James, at plus 107 now at the time of going live. Personally, this is a newly promoted team, Leganes, struggle to score goals. Bilbao, for me, by far the better outfit, and I think they can show their quality here. We've got a goal line around 1.75 to 2, and the 0-1, 0-2 outcome is very, very possible. Bilbao win to 0 is plus 163 if I just find my notes, and that is another bet very much worth considering. I think people are kind of forgetting how... I'm surprised they're not minus money. I thought they'd be about minus 130 here. This is a newly promoted side against a team in Athletic Bilbao who, they won the Spanish Cup last year. They're in Europe. They have a lot of quality players still. And Leganes is just lacking goals. So... For me, this is an away win. It's a good chance for them to restart their season. They've been a bit inconsistent so far. I would be strongly on this money line for Bilbao. The Bilbao, should I say?
I was going to say, Steve, you've raised the point there. You obviously watch the Spanish league a lot more closely than I do, but you've raised the point about the inconsistency. I think, when these games fall like this, and they have dropped points, haven't they? Although they've had some tough fixtures so far. I think when the stronger team faces a weaker side and it's an odd match like this that's scheduled, it's such a great opportunity to improve your points total, isn't it? They'll look at this as a chance to make up for those missed points. I saw Lashke, I think it was in the comments there, saying he thinks they might rotate Athletic Club Bilbao. Have to wait and see if that happens. But like you say, if you look at it from most angles, they do look like they should be too strong here, don't they?
Ashke is right. The La Liga clubs are known for midweek rotation more than others. So we do have to wait and see. But they do have decent depth. Very, very well-run club. As I say, it was one of those matches. I wasn't really going to look into it too much. I just thought that Bilbao would be about minus 130 or even shorter. And I thought, well, they can be that price and win. I don't mind. But when they're a plus money selection here against a newly promoted side, for me, the gulf in class is too much. Plus 107 Bilbao on the money line. Win to 0 at plus 163. Back to the Champions League. We've got some huge matches now in this section to talk about. This is Atalanta against Arsenal. This is 8 p.m. local time UK, 3 p.m. Eastern. Atlanta plus 310 on the money line here for them. Arsenal are the favourites away from home. Minus 124 now, Arsenal, at the time of recording. So there's been a little bit of money for them today. I'm not sure about them here, James. I think they've got a massive match at the weekend away against Manchester City. That surely has to be the priority fixture. This is a trap game. Atalanta have got a good coach. He's known for... Arteta's going to be tested here. I think he's going to be throwing up a couple of schemes that he's going to have to get around. We saw Porto do a job on them last season. This could be a similar situation. I wouldn't be all out for Arsenal here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So that my two main takes on this game were the following. Number one, it was on Atalanta. We saw last year that in Europe, they can come up with things from game to game, can't they, to frustrate the opposition. They're very capable of doing that and making it difficult. So they could come up with something here tonight that we've not thought of, that Arsenal haven't thought of, that the fans haven't thought of. They're a very, very difficult side to play against because they are so clever in Europe. The second point I was going to make, I think Ashke, though, in the comments says, just beaten me to it. Remember how Arsenal played away from home against Lens? Well, that was a real lesson for me. They got beaten at Lens last season in the Champions League, did Arsenal, at a time when Lens actually weren't playing that well in the league. It was a really great atmosphere that night. I know people who were at the game who said it was an unbelievable level of support that Lens enjoyed. Arsenal couldn't handle it. And actually, if you look at them through the group stages last season, I wasn't particularly impressed by Arsenal. They lost that game to Lens. I think they drew with PSV, and they got a win at Seville, so they ended with 4 points from a possible 9. Now, you can argue what has last season got to do with this season. That would be a fair point. Some people feel that the team will be a lot more mature now and have learned from that experience. But I would just rather wait and see on Arsenal. And I think away from home, to be odds on to win the game, minus money to win the game against such a good European side who did so well, I wouldn't be taking that. I think it was Duncan in the comments who said Atalanta double chance. I think it was, he was saying, I'd be inclined to look at something like that. Certainly find a way to oppose Arsenal. If you wanted to bet on this, I'm leaving this game alone. I'm fascinated by this match. I want to see how the two teams face off against each other and how they do. But I wouldn't be backing Arsenal, Steve. I tend to agree with you. I think at minus money away from home against tough European opposition, it's not for me.
I don't have a bet in this game either. If I was to lean anything, it would be under 2.5 goals. I could see it being similar to the Porto away game, their first leg last season, where I think Porto won it 1-0 thanks to a late goal. The strength of Arsenal is defence these days, in my personal opinion. You don't get... Arsenal's matches are not basketball anymore, end-to-end, gung-ho. They have a more control on proceedings. They've got some very good defenders. I really do like that centre-back partnership. And the goalkeeper, to be fair, has proven himself, David Raya, hasn't he? So, fair play there. I mean, Kuchel's right. I think if Atlanta do win, it probably will be under 2.5. Arsenal will be happy to come away with a point, Duncan says, in the middle of a tough run. Yeah, I think if you offered Mikel Arteta a draw, he probably would take it. It's a tough game. I'm very intrigued to watch it, though. This is going to be a few questions answered here, I think, about both teams, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
But tough betting heat. We think it's a tough betting heat. Moving on to a couple of some more games now, and we do have a lot more interest in some of these other fixtures. An absolute headline tie that stands out like a sore thumb here. Monaco against Barcelona. This is a real glitzy tie, isn't it? Monaco now actually a plus 370 at the time of going live. There's been some money for Barcelona, minus 148. The goal line's been backed. Over 3.5 is now plus 114, James. And I mean, initially, when I saw this fixture in the last couple of weeks, I was kind of all over Barcelona a bit. I really like how Barcelona are playing. But they've had a few injuries of late, which are worrying me a little bit. Monaco are not a team I ever really get right very often. So I've kind of a little bit into myself. I do have some goal scorer plays for this game. But I was looking at Barcelona for a while, but the injuries, I can't back them at minus 155. Yeah. What do you think in this game, James? You've got talk us about Monaco. How are they playing in the minute?
Yeah, well, Monaco made a pretty good start in League One. They look like they're going to be top 3 contenders again. They finished second last season, which is how they got into this competition. There's quite a lot of stability. Managers the same. A lot of the players are the same. They've obviously lost Ben Yedder in attack, who scored a lot of goals, but they've got good options in attack. So plenty of quality, but at their level, I would say, League One, for all their fans, they're not at the level of a Barcelona. And I think it's going to be a tough game for them. One thing I think Monaco are going to have to work really hard to deal with here is the Barcelona press. I think if Barcelona play the way that maybe they have been playing in League One, in the Liga, it's going to be something Monaco haven't faced so far this season, because there's not really a team in League One that plays that way, and certainly not one that Monaco have faced. So I think that's going to be a challenge for them to try and play their way out of the Barcelona press, if Barcelona press the way we know they can do under Hansi Flick. One thing you mentioned there, Steve, was the injuries. Just to run through a few of those, you're absolutely right. Araujo's out for Barcelona, Dani Olmo's out, Christensen's out, De Jong's out. So does that level it up? Well, yeah, maybe a little bit, because Monaco's team news is pretty good. Yeah, but against that, you have to say Barcelona, with 5 wins from 5 and 17 goals scored so far in La Liga, they've made an excellent start, and some of those wins have been with injuries as well. So it's very short on Barcelona if you fancy them. I think the price will probably put a lot of people off. But yeah, I wouldn't back against them. I think they're capable of winning. In the end, having looked at this from all sorts of angles, I went on the goals. Now, my pick on the game was over 3 goals. At the time, it was minus 148. I don't know if that's even shorter now. I think it's a fairly safe bet, this, because I'd be really surprised if there were fewer than 3 goals. So if you back 3 goals, at the very least, you'll get your stakes back if there are 3 goals, and it could well go higher than that. So that was my pick. I did have a little look at Minamino of Monaco. He's the Japan international attacker who will probably start. Now, just to have over 0.5 shots on target, he's plus 108. I think that's a pretty good shout. He's a good player. He tends to come good in big games. He might be a danger man for Monaco. But yeah, it was really goals for me, Steve. I think looking at high goals in this game would be the way to play. I think Monaco are going to come under pressure here from Barcelona, who will probably score a couple, and then Monaco are going to have to come out and attack as well. So should be a really entertaining game, I think. Very open and lots of great attacking football.
Yeah, minus 148 on over 3 Asian goals. And you kind of want the full push here for this one, James. You'd rather do that than go for the higher goal line at 3.25. You feel the full push is in play. Yeah, yes. I thought that.
I think so, because it could be a 2-1 win, couldn't it? It could be a 2-1 win to Barcelona. Then it's the case of, well, can Monaco equalise? Would Barcelona get on and make it 3-1? I think 3, it's maybe a bit short for some people. It's minus money. Nish's message in there. Anyone feel that Monaco can score? Yeah, I do think they can score. They've got big weapons up front. For those people who haven't watched Monaco, you've got Briel Mbolo, the Switzerland striker, who will probably lead the line. Minamino, who I've mentioned, playing off him. There's Ben Seguir, very good young attacker who may start. So they will be dangerous, but Barcelona, as I say, they're a class above, really, aren't they, what Monaco have faced so far? So I can fully understand why Barcelona are short price favourites here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just some information from the traders here at Bet Rivers. 91% of the tickets are on Barcelona. 88% of the over-under tickets are on the over. That's not a surprise. There's been a significant 4-figure bet on Barcelona here on the money line and double chance. Again, no real surprises. There's a bet I really like in this game, actually. Probably my second best bet in the Champions League. My best bet would be that over in the Feyenoord Leverkusen match. I like Rafinha and Lamine Yamal. This is the same game parlay, both to have at least one shot on target each at plus 110. So we just need them to hit the target each. I think both are priced at plus 180 with Bet Rivers to score at any time. I think at least one may well score here. So you could split your stakes for the any time. But just to hit a shot on target, both have been flying of late. Absolutely flying. And Yamal looked unplayable against Girona. Yeah. Rafinha was unplayable the week before. I don't think it's asking a lot. Both do like to shoot as well. They can get quite individual when they want to be.
Yeah, so, and I think also, very quickly, Steve, on that, I think the fact Dani Olmo is out, it just opens it up a little bit more for both of those players, doesn't it? You know, they will pick up the slack from somewhere when you've got a player like that who's not available. Rafinha maybe a bit more because, he might benefit a bit more from Olmo being out. But, I think that's a great shout.
Dan Roebuck, is he a secret Monaco fan, says Kushel? That's an interesting comment. He is quite favourable towards Monaco whenever we've done some of the shows. Yeah. Do I think they can score? Yeah, I think Monaco can. I never get Monaco right very often, though, to be honest, James. So I'm just sticking with the Barcelona side of things for this game and not getting involved with the money line and stuff like that. So, but I think this would be a good watch. I mean, this is I think Barcelona will enjoy this game. It's on the opposite to going to Red Star Belgrade, isn't it? This is a nice place to go. Everyone's going to enjoy going to Monaco, the glitz, the razzmatazz.
It's great. We should say as well, I think it's the first time in 6 seasons that Monaco have made the Champions League group stages. It is a big game for the club. They obviously get small crowds usually in League One, but it will be probably a sellout tonight. Not hardcore fans, but it's a huge event game, isn't it, against Barcelona? So it'll be a great occasion. Still nice weather in Monaco. I think that, like you say, the Barcelona players will be really looking forward to it.
Dan likes Monaco plus 1 on the Asian at plus 1.84. That's about minus 120, I think.
So he is a Monaco fan after all. There we go.
He's a Monegasque. They need some fans, don't they? They don't have that many. Although they're quite hardcore fans, to be fair to them. The ones that are. Aren't they? So
they actually, in a funny way, they have better away followings than home followings. They've got fans scattered around France, Monaco. If you look at them when they play away, they've always got quite a good crowd. But at home, it can be a bit more like a bit more of the prawn sandwich brigade, really. But big crowd tonight, I think.
I was going to talk about the Brest game next, but there's been a lot of questions about the Atletico Leipzig game, so we better go to the Spanish capital here. We'll save the Brest till last, if you want to say that. We've got Atletico de Madrid as this is an intriguing game. I think it's quite a tough one, but it's a great. There's some great matches today, actually. Atletico Madrid have drifted today, minus 132 now on the money line. Leipzig have been nibbled into plus 350. Over 2.5 goals is now minus 139. So there's been some money for the under, which I can get that as well. someone asked me about my Leipzig predictions. Apparently, I'm meant to be quite good on Leipzig predictions. I'm not sure entirely how accurate that is. I think it could be an under. I think it could be an under. Atletico Madrid have become more of an overish team under Simeone in the last 18 months. But Leipzig, right? When their matches go over, they go way over. Like you're talking 4-3s, 3-2s, but they're not a consistent over team. A lot depends what happens in the game state of the match. They can be sucked into shootouts, but they can also get sucked into these low scoring contests. And I think they're quite an organised side, RBL. Yeah. They use the ball well. They've got some good technical players who can retain possession for them if needed. They've got a completely different system to what most teams are in Europe. And I'm not sure it's a great matchup for Diego Simeone here. I think it's a tough one. I could see a draw. I think a 1-1 draw is what I'm thinking here. This is one of the hardest games on the whole card to forecast. It really is.
I would agree, Steve. I found this. I think it's a fascinating game. Two really interesting sides who will be interesting, I think, all season. But as a head-to-head from a betting point of view, I find this really difficult to call. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. I'm going to leave it alone. One thing I thought was quite interesting on the Bet Rivers markets was the Red Bull Leipzig players to score market, just because it looks like they're going to play with a Pender up front and then probably Sesko and maybe Xavi Simons off him. Just looking at those prices, if you were looking at Leipzig to do something here, you might want to look at who's going to get the goals, whether it would be one of those three. Pender's obviously the shortest of the three. He's plus 255 to score. Then Xavi Simons, I think, is plus 360 and Sesko's plus 335. And they're not massive prices. They're away from home. But if you are someone who thinks Leipzig might do something here, might be dangerous, occasionally, it might be worth looking at a really, really small stakes bet on one of those three players, because if they do start, they would be the danger players. And to be getting over plus 300 on good players like that, it might be tempting. But that was just really an angle on the game, to be honest. It's not a recommendation. It's a real tough one to call this. I don't think the prices in the main markets are giving anybody any leeway, really, are they? When you look at them, it's like, well, there's nothing there that stands out as an opportunity. So fascinating matchup. Should be an absorbing game, but I want to leave alone for me.
Trailer Warlock says Barcelona and over 2.5 goals. What do you think? I think if they win, it's more than likely that it does go over. So you might as well. It doesn't feel like a 0-1 or a 0-2 to me. So
that's a good shout. That's a really good shout.
Good shout there. There's a few quite like in Atletico Madrid here, which I can get that because they're a strong team at home. Marcel Alexander says we're the first people that he's heard that say this might be a close game. Madrid minus 1.5 popular over there stateside. This is the sort of match. If it ended 0-0, I wouldn't be shocked. If it ended 3-2 to someone, I'm not shocked either. Tough one. Really tough one.
A really tough one. Just on that double there that was mentioned, Barcelona and over 2.5 goals. That's minus 103 if you put that in a same game parlay. So, actually, if you were fancying Barcelona and the odds on them are too short, Barcelona and over 2.5 goals at pretty much even money would be a good shout.
Duncan Evans likes Atletico and Leverkusen double. Your Malta score from outside the area is 14-1, says Steve Gregory. That's a tasty one, actually. He can get a goal from anywhere. So, that's lots of different opinions on the bets today. We've got one final Champions League match to talk about, and then we're going to finish with the NFL. Brest against Sturm Graz. The Austrian champions, it must be added. And now, in early January 2023, if I had actually said to you, James, that right now Brest would be kicking off a Champions League campaign, right? In September 2024, and they would be odds-on favourites, minus money favourites. You would be asking, what planet am I on? You really would. Yes. This is absolutely unbelievable. Brest, minus 110. Favourites to beat Sturm Graz. This is a lot to talk about this game. So lead us away here.
There is. Well, the point you're making there, Steve, just for anyone that hasn't followed Brest, they were, the date Steve gave there, early 2023, they looked like they were going to be relegated. They changed their manager. They avoided relegation. And then last season when they were, again, one of the favourites to be relegated, they somehow finished third in League One to qualify for the Champions League. Extraordinary performance. They're in the Champions League for the first time in their history, and partly thanks to the fact that this is seen as a relatively kind opening game. They're odds on tonight to win at home with their first ever Champions League group game. So it's an extraordinary story. They've done unbelievably well just to be here. I think being in the Champions League will forever be a highlight for this club, who are, rank outsiders usually in League One to do well. Having said all that, I don't fancy Brest tonight. I think that price is too short, and there are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason, which people may not be aware of, is that Brest aren't actually playing at their own home stadium here. Unfortunately for Brest fans, it doesn't meet UEFA regulations, so they're unable to play at their normal home stadium. They're having to play at a stadium 100 kilometres away at Guingamp, who are local rivals of theirs. Now, there's still a home game in the sense that fans who are there are going to be mainly Brest fans, but it's not their stadium. The players aren't used to playing there, and there's been quite a lot of hostility towards them playing their games there from the Guingamp fans, so it's not ideal. I don't think it's going to be a huge factor, but it will be a factor. And the second thing to mention, Steve, is you've said it yourself. This is the Austrian champions we're talking about. Sturm Graz are no pushover. It's not one of Europe's top 6 or 7 leagues, but it's a pretty good league. They did remarkably well themselves to win it. They go into this game with good team news. We think they should be able to field a strong side tonight. So if you put all that together, I'm not sure Brest should be minus money here, and I wouldn't be backing them at that. So, looking at everything that's going into this game, my tip would actually be Sturm Graz or tie on the double chance market, which is available at minus 113. I think there's a fair chance that Brest don't win here playing in this second stadium. I think it's going to be a challenge for them in all sorts of ways. I don't think they'll be particularly nervous about being in the Champions League, but it's not a setting they're used to. Sturm Graz have got nothing to lose. They've done really well to win their own domestic league, and it's a good chance for them to get something. So that's my reading of the game. I think Sturm Graz or tie at minus 113 would be the play here.
I'm going to go even one more. I think this is my dog of the day. Sturm Graz on the money line, plus 290 at a neutral venue. It reminds me a bit of last year where in the Europa League, a team in Sweden called Häcken were forced to play their group games at the stadium of their rivals, or the old stadium of their rivals, IFK Gothenburg. I mean, Guingamp and Brest are big rivals. It's crazy that, I mean, I can imagine that the Guingamp fans are not happy about it, and Brest fans won't be happy about it either.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back to how it came about, just very quickly, Steve, I think they did want to play at Rennes, didn't they, at one stage? There was a bit of debate about where these games were going to be staged.
That would have been better, I think.
Which would have been better. There was some debate about that. Guingamp fans have made it very clear they're not happy about these games being played there. So you're right. When you play in your rival stadium, it's just not, it doesn't feel great, does it? So that's, it's a factor, I think, on the game tonight for sure.
I watched a bit of Rapid Vienna in the Champions League, Europa League qualifying, and they were not bad. They pushed Braga all the way in qualifying for that. Obviously, Salzburg were a letdown yesterday, unfortunately, but I think Sparta Prague are actually an underrated team. I think Sturm Graz are going to surprise a few people here, and Brest they have no right being a minus money favourite here.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No way. Like I said, I mean, I mentioned the team news. It's actually quite good for both sides. One player I would pick out on the game on Brest.
You like a prop here, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I like Mady Kamara in midfield. Again, for those who don't follow Brest, they generally play a 4-3-3. One of the two midfielders who's got license to go forward is Mady Kamara. And I like him on the over 0.5 shots on target market because he's plus money. He's plus 128 to have over 0.5 shots on target. This is a player who's had 4 shots on target so far this season in 4 games in League One. He's actually managed 3 of those in his last 2 games. He's quite confident. He passes the eye test as well, watching Brest matches this season. He's getting forward well. He's managing shots on target. They are at home tonight, so he will be getting forward as they try and win this game. It's one of their more winnable matches on paper. So look out for Mady Kamara getting forward, and he's, as I say, he's in quite good form in this particular market. So he would be my pick on the game from a Brest point of view. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Steve. They shouldn't be minus money on this match.
Yeah, Dan Roebuck says over 2.5 goals, Brest Salzburg. Brest against Sturm Graz. Sorry, I mean, both should fancy the win. It's a good winnable match for both, so it may well go open. I'm not entirely sure. It's a tough one actually, the over under line for this game. I think it's one of the few games where the line is close to over 2.5 for the whole round. We'll come back with best bets at the end, but I've got to finish with the NFL, and there's a big match tonight in the Thursday night football. New England Patriots at New York Jets. The Patriots on the money line at plus 230. New York Jets minus 286. The point spread is -6 and +6, and total points line is 38.5, which is quite low actually for the NFL. And I've got some interesting stats for you for the game, as always. We've got a breakdown of me from the traders here. I can tell you now 81% of the moneyline tickets are on the Jets, but 58% of the spread money is on the Patriots. So Beto's quite liking that +6 on the Patriots. Patriots they were expected to be very, very poor this year, but they have been quite competitive in both fixtures. I had a shock win against the Bengals in round one. Now, 10 of the last 11 games against AFC East opponents have gone under the points line. So I do bear that in mind. If one of these stats betters, the Jets have failed to cover the spread in 6 consecutive Thursday games. So that is an interesting one. I've got another trend which I was digging out today. That teams, because New England Patriots played overtime at the weekend against the Seahawks over there, and teams play on Thursday from overtime of an all-time record of 5-24 against the spread. So they don't cover their spread very often if you're coming off overtime and then playing on Thursday night. So this is a tough one. I think the Jets are favoured. They've got the better quarterback. The most wagered player props are Breece Hall, anytime touchdown scorer, -157. And Breece Hall is very, very popular here, actually, on the betting, either on the under or over rush attempts lines. And I say Breece Hall, anytime touchdown, that does seem a very, very popular wager with anyone. That is one of the biggest tickets on the game. So what we got here, J-Rod reckons have to take the Jets money line under 39.5 points. That could be interesting. Add Garrett Wilson. There you go. J-Rod is very liking that one. Jets money line under 39.5 points. But best bet before we go, James, today then. My
best bet on the Champions League, it would be that Leverkusen pick for me. Buy Leverkusen -1 on the Asian handicap at +102 away to Feyenoord.
Yeah, I think my best bet's going to have to be the goals in that game, over 3.25 goals in the Feyenoord against Leverkusen fixture. But I do like that Atletico Bilbao on the money line as well. But it's that's it for today. It's been great doing the show with you, James, as always.
Yeah, thanks.
Shakespeare there with his pick, with his MLB pick. Arizona Diamondbacks versus the Milwaukee Brewers over 8 runs at -115. Good luck wherever you're taking today. Do leave a like and a comment if you're on anything across the world of sport, let alone the Champions League, NFL later. There's loads of other events, MLB. And we'll be back tomorrow with Neil Channing, professional gambler Neil Channing is going to be on the show, and he's going to be looking ahead to the weekend NFL overall slate. So hopefully we don't have any technical issues tomorrow with that, unlike last week. But best of luck, James. It's been a pleasure as always. And stay safe, everyone. And remember to gamble responsibly. See you next time on Betting Weekly Live.